are live. Hello all newcomers and welcome back my fellow Aeternians. As always, it's me, Empire of Aeternia, and today I have some exciting stuff to bring to you. So if you haven't seen our latest video, we dropped it just this morning. I recommend you check it out. We had to bid a farewell to one of our greatest citizens, our Imperial Ambassador James. He has decided to go off and serve in the Ukrainian military to fight against Russian incursion into their territory. So that being the case, we wish James all the best. We have a video as a send-off for him as well, showing a patch that we created that he will be wearing as he serves, representing the Empire of Aeternia. Now, that all being the case, one of the things that James did before he left was he recommended to us that we try other forms of content for rainy days. We've been working for a long time on our capital territory of Vitae, trying to build what we call our first experimental dwelling. We're trying to make effectively a shed out there and trying to get it to grow and develop. And we've been doing everything we can to build that over the last year. And now we're getting closer and closer to the finish line on that, with our roof nearly being put on, getting all the materials necessary for that, starting to finish up the framing. That being the case, today is literally a rainy day, so we are going to be working on something a little bit different we've been experimenting with in the past, and only now are so excited to show you as we have made it a successful proof of concept. We are going to be turning all of these scrap cans that we've been able to collect, it's close to 40 just here on this table, that we've been collecting slowly over time, just from our own food usage, just canned vegetables, canned beans, things like that. And what we are going to be using is this cruddy little can opener here to actually take the ends off of these cans, and then we are going to be cutting them with a pair of scissors that I have behind me, and turning them into these flat tin sheets. Now you may ask, you're getting these cans, they're kind of crummy, turning them into these sheets, that's a little bit better, but how does that actually help you? Well, we can go from these flat sheets to these more dense pieces of effectively like a little rod of steel. It's just a little mashed down version of this, but it's significantly more dense, and that allows us to actually weld them. So as I'll show you on the back here, the back looks really cruddy and nasty, but that's actually where we did our weld. On this side, you can see it's actually two little sheets just like this that we have actually welded together and overlapped so that they make a significantly tougher, significantly stronger piece of steel that we can actually use. We can actually use these in projects. We can use them to grow and develop what we do here. So that all being the case, this is an interesting project idea for you guys if you have some scrap steel around, and allows you to make something useful out of it. I'll be showing in the future some projects that we end up making out of it, but for now we just need to process all of this right now junk steel. So if you guys want to like the video, help to get some more people in to see what we're up to, definitely join in. Queen Bougie, great to see you. She says, he says, hello Emperor AP and good luck, James. You have Mecklenburg thinking of you. Thank you so much, Queen Bougie. It means a lot to see you. Rafor General Stan Production says, yo, Rysonia, good to see you guys. Thank you everybody for being here. My apologies if I mispronounce anybody's name or say anything wrong. I am currently a little bit distracted. Again, a lot going on here in the Empire, but for the moment, we are going to be continuing to process some of these cans, and I'll give you guys some updates while we hang out. Most of our previous live streams, we have been actually having to work just solely on the development of our dwelling. So we haven't had much time to actually talk to you guys and interact. And I want today to be a little bit different. I want us to actually be able to kind of come together as a community. I probably won't be reading as many comments as I have in previous streams, again, just because, limited time, limited ability, but I will be here to answer any pertinent questions that you guys have, and to hang out, to talk to you guys about what we're doing here in the Empire, and how we're going to be moving forward. Again, one of the bigger projects that we have going on is this, simply because the ability to weld, the ability to use steel is incredibly valuable for an upstart nation. It just expands what we can do. We have a metalworking industry that allows us to mold and shape things like copper and aluminum, but those metals in particular are kind of hard to weld with. Not impossible, but it's just a little more irritating than something like steel, which is so versatile. Now, this steel as well, we just knocked out another one. This steel is not the highest quality steel. It's not going to be the strongest thing in the world, and it's not going to be the best thing to weld with. But for something we get for free, something that we're going to be disposing of anyway, that would otherwise go into a landfill, this is pretty dang valuable for us. So it's going to allow us to make some things that will significantly advance not only the aesthetics of the empire, we can use it to make certainly a lot of decorative things, certainly a lot of little, small design and aesthetic choices for our development, but we're also going to be able to do something quite interesting with it, which is actually being able to make some functional products. So one of the things that we've been thinking of particularly is working on things like a throne, being able to make a nice throne, a nice seat for us, being able to make things like hinges, brackets, stuff like that for working out at Vitae, being able to make little additional plates of sheet steel that we can actually screw together to make mounts for, little small hoses, little small, basically anything we need to tie up, put onto a tree, put off to the side, have it grouped together. Anytime we have, loose material around, things like that. Anytime we're trying to shore something up, especially against the ground, something that if we put wood there, for example, might get eaten through by termites or something like that. This steel will help. Now, steel, of course, is going to be able to oxidize and be able to rust. But that being the case, we will still be a lot better off with sheets of steel that we have cheap and available and easy to replace, especially as the price of steel goes up. I don't know if any of you guys have tried to purchase just plates of steel before, if you've had a project, if you do welding, anything like that. But sheet steel is pretty pricey. So if you're trying to make anything large, anything that's going to take lots and lots of steel, you are going to be paying a very high premium on that. And so having some kind of available resource for not free steel, because it still takes plenty of time and effort to get it into a usable, workable form, but for us, sheet steel that we can actually start to weld with is incredibly valuable and really expands what we can do. Especially with like mixed use things, like I said, as brackets for putting pieces of wood together, for things to add a little bit of strength for any kind of, copper or aluminum artistry that we make. There's so many different ways that we can utilize this stuff. And just as we've been talking, 3 down, jumping onto the 4. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for liking. What have you guys been up to? Ricardo da Silva says, you don't know how to use that. 100%. So what I would normally do is to go like that and then actually, turn the can opener. You should turn the can opener, but you'll notice once you stab it through, these teeth just start to gnaw and rip at each other. Makes it a lot harder to process. So what I actually do is I'll start poking a hole, and then because the sheet of steel and the actual can shape itself keeps so much rigidity, what I can do is actually just puncture it as I go around. And it works quite well. You can just kind of puncture it, move through, keep going like that. And slowly, it takes some time and some effort, but you do end up getting all the way through the can relatively quickly and without actually damaging the gears that you're working with too much when it comes to this can. So yeah, kind of a weird, kind of a backward way to do it. Ideally, what we would have to make this process a lot quicker is tin snips. So actually, thicker scissors effectively that are designed for doing stuff like this. However, since I don't have any at the moment, this has been a pretty practical and effective way of getting through these cans in a short order. So that's what we're doing. Maybe a little bit of a silly way to do it, but certainly an effective way to do it. Because we've just run through 4 and we're on 5. Bishbosh says, do you need some plasters? Sure. Bishbosh says, got some cans here, but if you need some, I appreciate it. It looks like right now we are chock full of them, but I'm sure in the future we will need some more. One of the things we would actually like to do in the future is to partner with places like homeless shelters, places like food drives, community centers, food banks. And so that being the case, I'm sure as time goes on, if we can start growing the garden effectively and being able to provide actual food and actual, doing our own canned good drives, things like that, to be able to bring to those places. We may have the opportunity, if they're hosting like a dinner night or something like that, where they're cutting open and using the cans, to get a lot of scrap cans. So, helping them in the cleanup process while also being able to give us a resource to take back home and turn into something new. Trying to find ways to be symbiotic with the community, being able to work together as a team, get mutual benefit out of it is ideal. So, this is a little like arts and crafty. I definitely get that. It definitely doesn't look like I'm using super sophisticated tools or anything super fancy to work with. But at the same time, it is something effective and it is something that we do get benefit out of. Like I showed you earlier, for anybody that didn't see, I can show it again later. But we're going to turn these things into actual little pieces of sheet steel like this that we're going to mash down and create a lot more density in that we can weld. It's a shitty weld, it's a very bad weld. But as you can see, we can overlap these pieces. It is a functional weld, it does hold. So, when we grind it down, smooth it out, we can eventually make something like this and continue to stack pieces like that and be able to make long sheets of this thicker steel. It's more functional. That being the case, continuing on to, I think this is 6 now. Also 16 viewers, 4 likes. Thank you guys for being here. We're going to continue with the silly way of cutting these cans with this can opener. Hope you guys are doing well. And again, this is a part of what that symbol behind me means. It's the arrow of progress. It means always moving forward, always pushing, always striving. Even if you don't necessarily have all the resources to make it easy, even if you don't have, everything that you would like to be able to do something, where there's a will, there's a way. And though we want to be safe and we want to take the time to make sure that we do something in a way that is effective, if you do have an effective means of doing something, start small, start with the rough way of doing it, and slowly keep working until you can achieve those nicer results. Refine your process, hone your craft, until you get to the point where it looks like you've always been an expert. So right now we are trudging along on can, I believe, number 6. We're going to call it number 6, even if it's not. And quickly, we're about to be on to number 7. Now again, right now what I'm doing, I've already cut the tops off. When we originally used the cans, we removed the top. So I'm going ahead and removing the bottoms, which have these much smaller lips, so it's a lot harder to actually grip the bottom of the can. Part of the reason why I'm also, going in and clipping it like that. But then we get this can fully see-through, magical. And then later, once we finish processing all these cans on the table behind me, I'm going to go ahead and just snip like that in the middle. We'll get a sheet, and then we can start hammering those sheets, probably on another stream, into these guys. But enough redundancy on that. Now onto the next one, and our table is slowly getting reduced. 22 viewers, 6 likes. Thank you guys for being here. Again, just another way to turn some scrap steel that we have into a useful product for the Empire. Useful resource, I should say. Turning trash into treasure, as some might say. So, slowly working through that. Now, one thing I will say, I would not recommend this if you have any kind of, carpal tunnel or anything like that. This definitely puts a lot of strain on the hands, and so it is a workout for sure. by the time I get through with all of these cans, which would be nice because I've had these cans sitting around just piling up for quite a while. What I'll actually do, I'll pull them a little closer so I can stand behind and work and show you guys. Whoa, there we go. All right, let's see. Let me make sure everybody can see the cans. Yep, got them. So these cans I have been working with and saving up effectively for quite a while. You know, we obviously don't use 40 cans a night in beans and in vegetables and stuff like that. So I've been saving these up, needing to actually process them. I've processed a few so far, as you can see by the little weld that I did there. But not too many. Again, trying to figure out whether this was practical, whether this was beneficial for us. And I've started to gather project ideas and things that we can use these cans for near immediately. So we're starting to make headway there. That being the case, again, I hope you guys are doing well. I know there has been a lot going on in the micronational community in particular, and in the world political community. You know, obviously the shooting of the United Healthcare CEO, the election of Donald Trump, there has been a lot, obviously the war in Ukraine, which we have now some personal connection to some degree. There is, you know, a lot going on in the world, and I hope everybody's taking care of themselves. I hope they're doing well. I hope you guys are thinking of each other, taking care of your friends and neighbors. And, you know, as the holidays are coming around the corner, for those of you that celebrate Christmas, you know, I hope you are doing well, enjoying the holidays. Regardless of if you celebrate Christmas, I suppose the New Year is still coming up. And so that being the case, I hope you guys are going to have a good New Year. Hope you're looking forward to ending the year with a bang and getting started with the next for your nation or just for yourself personally. In just a second, I will go ahead and start reading some comments. I figured I'd get through, you know, maybe 10 or 11 before I hit the comments. So if you guys do have some big Aeternia questions, if you have some questions about James, if you haven't seen our video yet on his departure, I recommend checking it out. You know, we sent James effectively a little care package that had his patches that we made for him for his service to represent the Empire. But we don't, you know, have many other ways to assist him. And I think, you know, he wasn't particularly looking for assistance or anything like that, but it would be nice if in the future, when we can get in touch with him, if there would be something that we could do either for him or for his family. It would be pretty cool to just be able to send them a, you know, thank you for being a part of the Empire. Thank you for, you know, playing such a big role here and impacting our lives. That being the case, we are now having to look for someone to take James' seat at the table while he is away. James, of course, has not renounced his citizenship. He's still serving Aeternia, albeit in a much different capacity. And also, this was something that he personally chose to do. It wasn't something that was spurred on by the Empire or anything like that. He had this call to service. He felt like it was in his duty to go and, you know, take part in the efforts in Ukraine to try and help gain their independence. So that being the case, we, you know, obviously understood that that would mean him stepping away from his duties. So as a part of the imperial government, we have to find a way to fill his seat while he's gone, figure out a way to continue to improve so that when he comes back, he is coming back to a much more expanded empire, a place where all of the work and effort that he put in before he left is realized and is expanded upon and is, you know, that he can come back and be proud of all of the work that we've done. So that being the case, we are looking for somebody now to take over an imperial ambassadorship. You know, that is a part of our government. Specifically, that person, as James was, would be a noble in the House of Others, which is house of our government. So that being the case, the House of Others, you know, effectively specializes in recruitment, specializes in communications with those who are outside of the empire, and in particular, in James' case, deals with the collaboration and communication efforts between the Empire of Aeternia and other nations. So, as we continue to move forward, We need somebody who can take up the reins on that, somebody who can, oh, we're about to move to a big can, somebody who can join us and fill the shoes of somebody who was really good at that, really enjoyed representing the empire, really enjoyed taking on the challenge of learning about new cultures, about finding out what would work between our nation and other nations. And so now, having those big shoes to fill, we are looking for somebody. James was not somebody local to the empire. Ideally, we'd like to find somebody local to the empire, but just anybody with a passion, anybody willing to jump in and take on that role is what we are looking for. The role primarily is like, responding to emails, doing things like that, occasionally maybe posting a video or making a social media post describing what we're doing, maybe hanging out in the Discord, something like that. The actual specifics of the role are fairly flexible depending on what our goals in foreign policy are at the moment. But a lot of it really is just connecting to those other nations via email, being able to respond to emails, being able to send out emails to those we're interested in partnering with, finding ways to keep lines of communication open. And so the trickiest part about developing a micronation, at least in my opinion, has been to find people who can dedicate their time and effort sincerely. We have found more people than I think a lot of micronations end up with over the years. We have, had quite a number of amazing people who have contributed their time and efforts and talents to helping to make the empire the place that it was when James came in. And now that James was departing, continuing to find ways to look for those people who see what amazing job James left off with and continue to push forward with the rest of us. So that being the case, trying to find somebody who not only is a passionate micronationalist and is interested and excited to make their mark on not only the empire, but the world in that regard. We are also looking for somebody who isn't already a part of a micronation, which is tough. People are really attached to the micronations that they're a part of. I think, that it makes micronationalism kind of what it is. The fact that people love their communities, the fact that people love their cultures, the fact that people are so excited about expressing that, big can done, is part of the thing that makes a job like James as Imperial Ambassador so valuable and so necessary for us. And so it's a double-edged sword. The same thing that is so beneficial about his position, the reason we need it so much, is also the thing that makes it so incredibly hard to fill. It isn't just anyone who can take on that role. It's somebody who is loyal to Aeternia, somebody who is only an Aeternian citizen, who is a citizen of another micronation, somebody who, is happy to spend their time working with and collaborating with other micronational leaders and trying to figure out solutions to problems like, how we can develop trade agreements, effectively being the representative of Aeternia when I am not able to be the representative of Aeternia. It's a big ask of somebody, and it takes a lot. So I don't anticipate we will fill those shoes immediately, maybe anytime soon. But we're going to be looking. We're going to be trying to push forward with that. So that being the case, if you feel like you might be the one to fill James' shoes, definitely reach out to us either at aeternianempire@gmail.com or go ahead and hit up our website. We have a citizenship application where you can go in and directly fill out the application. It'll ask a lot of the same questions that I would ask you anyway. If you were to email us and try to move through the citizenship process that way, we probably end up having you fill out the form anyway. So going ahead and filling that out gives us your contact info to reach out and gets a lot of those questions out of the way about who you are and why you're so passionate about what you do. James jumped in and said, it's the flag of the Empire of Aeternia. Hey, great to see you, James. Thank you for being here. That's incredible. James jumping into the video. Her Majesty, Queen Bougie says it's a micronational flag. It sure is. Made of beef. Great to see you. That's what it is. This is the arrow of progress. It is the symbol of the Empire of Aeternia, and what it represents is our progress moving forward. It represents that each person in their life has a guide, some sort of motivation for moving forward, something that they know is going to find the progress in life that they are looking for, something that is going to help them to develop that, that there is a path forward, that there is some way that whether it is as individuals or as a community, we make change and grow and develop and progress. And so the arrow of progress is exactly that. It is the symbol of that progress. It is the symbol of that motivation, of that movement that we bring together as individuals and united as a community. So when I stand in front of the arrow of progress like I am now, it fills me with pride because I am doing something that will help in a very small manner, but nonetheless will help us to make that progress, to move forward, to generate some difference for those who come after this point, Now, as we move forward, if we start looking for blacksmiths or people who, for example, will be ambassadors for Aeternia, those people are able to come in and say, hey, not only do we have this amazing community, not only do we have a social media presence, not only do we have these different events that we host and these different things that we do, not only do we have this garden and this land with our capital territory of Vitae, we also now have steelworking. That's something that, if you need some usable functional steel, though it comes in a very limited form right now, we do have that as something to trade. We do have that as a genuine bona fide asset that the Empire can tout. And so that's something that's really cool for us. And so, the arrow of progress really symbolizes that, moving forward, never giving up, never quitting, knowing that when we put in this effort, when we put in this time, when we make this stuff happen, we end up better than we were before, especially when we come together as a people under this flag. So let's see. Daniel says, gay as hell. James says, what do you mean? What makes it gay and why are you using gay as a derogatory term? Good clapback, James. No reason to be insulting people and no reason to use gay as an insult. We love all the people who are part of Aeternia and we love all the people who express their love in different ways. So weird flex, but okay. James says, Daniel, please be aware of yourself. Ooh, you better be careful. Gonna get kicked from the stream. Don't even know. Let's see. Let me go ahead and read some of these comments, making sure we're not having a negative spell forming. Okay, yep. We are going to go ahead and put Daniel in a timeout. All right. James says, the Empire considers all people equal under the government. We do not support derogatory efforts against people, regardless of race, origins, or sexuality. Got him. Queen Bougie says, James, good to see you, and we wish you luck in all your adventures. Absolutely, James. Thank you for being here and taking time out. James says, AP, it would be interesting to have people ship canned food in. We harvest the metal and then make the food for the homeless nearby. That is a great effort. Again, that's actually a good point. That's a step forward. James already helping us to progress even far away, even doing all the things that he is doing. Yes, absolutely, that is going to be the plan. We do need to find a way to do that. Now, if people ship the canned goods in, while that may be valuable, it may be expensive, let us know if you guys would be willing to do that. If you can ship those canned goods in, that would be wonderful. I would imagine if you're doing that, the larger an amount you ship in, the cheaper it would be. That gives us another asset, as James is saying, actual food to help people who need that food. And in general, it gives us back additional metal. The other thing to think about is that we can probably do a similar thing just locally, trying to run canned food drives. Canned food drives are very popular, especially around the holidays, like we are right now. Being able to say, hey, we are looking to make a difference in the community. If you guys can donate canned foods, if you have stuff like that, we will go ahead and bring them to the local homeless shelters that we have around here. If any of you guys are, fairly local, if you're in Tennessee, Mississippi, Georgia, North Georgia area, let us know. And we may be able to work out something where we meet up and can actually collect, if you have a large enough amount of canned goods, to be able to bring and support people here in this community. Even if you can't, consider doing a canned food drive or something similar for people in your community. But if you want to find a way to not only help those people who may need the food, but also get us a way to have that additional scrap steel that we can process, refine, and make into usable items for the Empire, definitely let us know, because we can try to figure that out. I think as we continue to move forward in James' absence, and maybe even not physical absence, because you are here right now, in James' time in Ukraine, I should say, we will, I think, be pursuing more localized efforts. We have tried for some time to start slowly recruiting in our local community, but we haven't really had the time or effort to put into major agendas, major events to try to push forward that narrative, to try and get more people interested in developing in the Empire. So that being the case, now that we are in a winter break, now that we have some time, and especially as we move toward the summer, when we'll really have an increased amount of time, we should be able to do that. We should be able to start looking into, for example, starting up more of these canned food drives, starting up being able to just have more recruitment events, specifically saying, this is what we're doing, these are the things that we have so far, let's show you some of the things that we've made out of these products that we're recycling, things like pallet wood that has helped us to make some of the outer paneling for our dwelling at Bate, things like the scrap metal, which will be turned into different products, things like recycled wire and stuff that has helped us to make the copper coins that we will be sending out to the calexit community. There is a lot to be said about taking things that people would otherwise throw away or disregard and using them. Another big one, the vape pens that we have been recycling. We haven't made too big of a fuss about that on the channel, but that is another big effort of ours that works in tandem with the rest of this, that slowly builds our assets, allows us to have more practical ability than we did before, is being able to have some kind of resource to harness electricity. We had started on that with a very small set of solar panels. We still have a very small set of solar panels, but that gives us some way to generate electricity. But what about when the sun's down? What about when it's a cloudy day like today and it's rainy and you're not going to get very much solar power? Well, we need batteries. We need ways to store as much solar energy as we can. That way, even if we don't have enough to go around, we can store it for weeks and weeks and weeks and build up enough that when we go out to, for example, our capital territory, Vitae, we need to run some lights because we're staying the night, or we need to run a heater when it's cold out, something like that, or we need to run something for cooking or power tools, charge our phones, things like that. We have the ability to have a consistent and reliable power source in those batteries that we get from recycling disposable vape pens. So, and we already have a video out on that. If you haven't checked it out, I recommend you do, because we're doing more on that in the future. Kevin says, what recycling then? Okay, so let's see. Homeland said, hello, can a can? It sure can. And this is particularly a pretty big can, so we will be getting to that very shortly. James says, if you want to support the Empire and our community, please visit our Discord or contribute to our community via Discord. Join us as citizens via the Patreon. Would love to have you all. Very cool. Queen Bougie says, absolutely, thank you. James says, AP, please examine your cans. Tin, aluminum, sometimes even lead can be used for packaging. Be careful in mixing these cans easily. Absolutely. One thing that would be good to test on that, and you're right, I absolutely haven't been testing that. A lot of them we get from the same couple manufacturers. So a lot of the cans have been fairly consistent, but you're right. One of the things that I probably should do is get a little magnet and actually test those. So that may be something to do here in a little bit. But what I will do is do that. I'll go ahead and process these cans for the video, and then I will go through. I actually have a couple little neodymium magnets that I could stick and test each of these cans just to make sure they're steel. But you're right, that is a good thing to think about, the fact that not all of these could be made equal. A lot of them are probably some kind of alloy, and we do need to be careful about that. It may not weld well, also could cause us some issues in just processing the cans themselves. So, yep, that's definitely something to think about as well. Even if we can't weld some of them, you know, if we do find something is aluminum, that's great. It doesn't oxidize too well. So we could use it in places that we couldn't use the normal steel that would otherwise be able to rust. One of the things James brought up as well, I think, was plastic. Let me see. Tin, aluminum, sometimes even lead can be used for the packaging. Absolutely. That is something that is something we need to be really careful about. When I have been welding in particular, I use a respirator. We have a little respirator that we use as we've been cleaning out the RV as well, because it has a lot of mold and stuff in it, as we've been slowly restoring the RV. But that being the case, we definitely need to make, oh, and also for our metals refining, when we've been casting things like aluminum, copper, we wear respirators. And so, absolutely, for doing the welding, doing things like that, I've been using a respirator. But not only that, making sure we wash our hands really good. Good safety precautions in general for trying to take care of processing any of these metals. And that's something that, even though I tend to kind of, you know, quickly move through things and not think too much about it, because I know some of these things, the process in general really needs to be well documented. Because when we go to move forward and tell other people, hey, just start processing all these cans, just start moving all this stuff, start breaking them up for us and cutting them up, and, you know, oh, now you're good enough, you can start welding and doing these other things. Really making sure that people are aware of the risks associated, and more importantly, making sure that they are able to handle those risks safely, and that they know the proper procedure to take care of and process these things in a way that minimizes exposure to any dangerous materials or cause any adverse risks to their health. Incredibly important. So yes, we absolutely will have to standardize procedures for this stuff as we go along. You know, that's all in documentation. That's all in writing this stuff down. Yet again, absolutely invaluable for moving forward, for progressing in our empire, for actually being able to have more community and more established connection to others. Again, another reason why James is absolutely invaluable to this community. Somebody who is not only thinking ahead, not only thinking in big strides, but also in the details, you know, trying to help us be practical about the way that we do things. Sometimes I will admit that is a weak point of mine. You know, I tend to have methods and ideas for moving forward, you know, always trying to find the next newest best thing to be able to help us grow. But people like James keep me on track. People like Tiffany keep me on track, you know, just to be able to double check my work and say, hey, you know, you're doing good. Have you thought about this? And that is something that I recommend for all micronationalists, regardless of your ideology, regardless of your politics, regardless of the size of your community even, or the goals of your community. Make sure that you have people who, one, are passionate about what they're doing, passionate about your community, but two, make sure you have people who watch your back, people who know your weak points, your blind spots. Make sure that they are able to help you and support you and teach you, and be smart enough and wise enough and humble enough to actually learn from those people and take what they're saying into consideration, because that's the only way that we grow, is together. That rant over. Let me go ahead and see what everybody's talking about. James says, Kevin Webb says, oh, you prepping? We prepping some metal cans for sure to be used as assets for the Empire. James says, do you think the cans could be hammered out into roof shingles? Absolutely. You know, that's something that is not too hard at all. It's the one difficult, well, as roof shingles, yes, absolutely. That is something that could be pretty easy to apply as a like middleman asset for these. You know, the refining process right now, the effort that we're doing to work with these cans is usually in, you know, cutting off the lids, top and bottom, cutting out the middle, flattening them into these sheets. Let me grab one of the sheets here to show you. So we flatten them out into these sheets. And yes, absolutely. Then from there, we would go, oh, okay, now we're going to hammer it down, and we're going to get it into something like this that we can start to weld or forge with. But James has a great idea right there. Hey, let's just go ahead and flatten these out. And since we're going to have to flatten a bunch of them out anyway to start to make these, we just flatten these out and leave them to the side. And when we need, for example, to make another dwelling, hey, we have the opportunity to say, we'll just use these, you know, maybe coat them in a layer of some sort of protective plastic or something similar, some kind of weatherproofing agent that we can then take them, make sure they don't rust, and just nail them straight into a wooden roof, so that way they could support our structures and make sure that people have quick and easy access to a roof, which has been right now one of the longest and most difficult parts of developing the dwelling that we're looking at. You know, this first dwelling is just used as a storage shed, but even that storage shed has to be dry, has to be relatively clean and relatively isolated in its environment. And so we had to actually go out and buy from somebody who was taking down another shed some of their tin roofing material. And so having something like this the next time that we go to build a dwelling will make it a ton easier to be able to shore that up. Even for this dwelling right now, if there's ever any issues with it, if, you know, the tin that we have starts to rust, starts to cause problems, you know, has a hole in it, gets damaged for whatever reason during the storm or something, we have ways to patch it. We have ways to improve it. So great idea, James. Again, another banger from James. Let me jump in, see what everybody's talking about. Queen Bougie saying, I've actually come across some small, like, portable fire pits at my local thrift store. I thought it would be really cool for the Empire as well, as keep the Emperor and Tiffany warm during the winter. Oh, absolutely. We would certainly appreciate that. We have thought about doing something similar. There are a number of, like, washers and dryers and things like that that we've seen around that people are literally, like, getting rid of. You know, they're broken for whatever reason. And so people we know. And so we have considered doing something like just taking the liner out of the washing machine, the actual basket that you put the clothes in, taking that out, you know, cutting it apart, sanding it down, and shaping it into a nice fire pit for out at Batay. So absolutely, if you have a cool fire pit that you would like to send us, or that somehow we can pick up from you, let us know. That would be super cool. And it'd also be a great way for us to, like, connect. But even if you're planning on using those for your own purposes, show us what you do with them. Like, let's see how you actually put them to use, because it may teach us something about how we want to use them practically. You know, once we find similar fire pits, or if we're trying to make our own, maybe it'll give us a good idea for a design. So Queen Bougie, we definitely appreciate the support. Definitely good ideas all around, especially for times like now. You know, that's one of the big upsets for Batay at the moment, is we've had Batay for over a couple of years now, and we are sitting in this situation where we we have enough out there to hang out and host, little small gatherings and events and stuff during the summer when it's nice and warm. But because we don't have a roof over our head, because we don't have electricity out there right now, because we don't have running water, making some kind of event during the winter, during any kind of, inclement weather at all is brutal. You just don't want to do it, which is understandable. So right now, that's our next goal, is not only being able to make Vitae habitable during nice, ideal weather, but also making it habitable in any weather. So things like fire pits, things like ways to stay warm and stay dry and stay nourished are all going to be great assets in making Vitae just that much more habitable, that much more friendly and welcoming a place for potential Aeternian citizens, but also just for visitors. If we want to have any sort of tourism in the future, if we want to have any sort of community gatherings, or maybe have like news media come out and see what it is we're up to, having esteemed guests, having other micronational leaders. All of those different occurrences will require us to have ways to support those people in inclement weather. Real quick, let me jump in to the chat. James says, I imagine if you cut the ends off, they could be hammered straight. Oh, they absolutely can be. And that is what we have done previously to get down to that. I'm sure you've already seen that part of the video we're jumping through. But there we go. Okay. Morningstar says, hello, great to see you, Morningstar. Homeland says, I'm back. Thank you guys for being here. And also thank you for the 12 likes. That helps to get people in, helps to keep our community strong, and also helps to show how much you guys like different styles of content like this. Again, cutting up cans may not be the most exciting thing in the world like it is when we're doing more of our development out at Vitae, but it is a crucial part of this development. For people who are actually looking for the inside scoop of how we do things, looking for some kind of mile marker for our progress to see, how it is that we're going to be able to move forward, what it is that we can do with limited resources, and maybe learning how you can apply those things yourself, or how you can learn from our mistakes to grow your nation. Those are all things that come from videos like this. When we have all the resources together and we're just putting the pieces in place, that's maybe more exciting because you get to see the final product, but it's not as accurate a representation of the journey. It doesn't allow you to really learn like these little experiences do. So if you're more into this style of content, definitely let me know. If you want me to be talking to the camera, if you want me to be, discussing things with the community, sharing ideas, going back and forth. Maybe this is just to a more niche audience, but I'd like to think that for all micronationalists, especially as time goes on and we become more and more successful, this applies directly. This is something that, I keep walking away from the cans, but I suppose that's kind of the body of the video. I just want to see what you guys say, and I'm a little blind, so I can't see everything super close. I'm a little nearsighted. So that being the case, I just feel like when people come to us, which we've had a few emails like that, hey, how did you grow your nation like that? How did you develop to be able to purchase land? How did you be able to, start doing things like welding or like, metals casting? And, how do you afford to get these things? How do you manage all this? We have started from nothing. Not everything that we have been able to get has come from our community directly, but a lot of it has. I'd argue most of it has. Vitae, we had to put most of the money up for ourselves. We did a lot of scrimping and saving, literally, putting us to the point of, really draining our bank accounts to be able to do it. The rest of this, though, has basically come from our community. There have been a few things that we've, again, kind of helped the price on. If we are saving and saving and saving our money from things like Patreon or other means of support, things like our Etsy, where people buy products from us, our Imperial Market. we generally are just scrimping and saving those things and then budgeting and seeing, okay, well, what can we afford to buy? Like if we have just this little amount of money, what's next on our agenda that would be most helpful for our growth? That being the case, when people ask us stuff like that, there is now documentation for all of that. We have years and years of videos going back showing almost every step in our evolution, in our growth process, for, hey, if you wanted to emulate us, if you wanted to improve on what we do and grow faster than we do, you could just watch those old videos, watch the videos that better represent where you're at in your nation's development, and then take lessons from what we have done and apply them yourself. Real quick, I'm going to go ahead and jump back in. Homeland's back. Good to see everybody. Homeland says, well, yeah, I can see why. Would you like to play a game of insane? Would you rather, I'll go first, would you rather eat a 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer square of Play-Doh or a steel bar? Both horrible options. Both absolutely atrocious. 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer Play-Doh. I guess if you could eat it over time, that's the safer option, because the steel will, like, one, it probably poison you a little bit. Like, you can have iron in your body, but you shouldn't, I don't know, it may not poison you, but it would at very least do some significant internal damage to your organs. You definitely do not want something that heavy, more, sharp, dense. You don't want that in your body. At the same time, the Play-Doh may be like possible if you eat it slowly enough and can digest it like over enough period of time. You have to eat it all at once. Both of them are 100% deadly. Do not recommend. Guess I'd rather the Play-Doh, but bad regardless. That being the case, I'm going to go ahead and pivot from insane would you rather to continue talking about this for a moment. Again, slow but steady process of trying to turn each of these little cans into something that is valuable for us, that is an actual asset for us. And we are a small community, so it's not like, we're going from making these things, cutting these cans up to having to take care of, 1,000 people or something. But this is a steady stepping stone toward that. Again, we are quickly moving through this. We're about halfway through the table now, a little over halfway through the table. And we now have a significant number of cans to be processed down. Again, you're seeing the size of this, just the volume that we're having to deal with in this material. You can see, it took up the entire table when we first started the stream. And what I'm going to do is, once I finish cutting each of these cans up, and we really get it all the way down to where we've processed each of them, I'm going to start cutting through the center and flattening them out. And as I do that, I will put them together and show you how much less space it takes up. And we can continue doing that over and over again until the point where eventually, won't be this stream, but eventually we would have them all down to, I'm losing my other piece, oh, there it is, all down to this size. And when you flatten them out and compact them into this size, it's going to take up, maybe a square like that. And so you will see that this entire table has been processed down into a much denser, more compact form, and a form that we actually can call an asset, something that is actually benefiting us. It's not just this waste product for us anymore. It took a lot of time and effort to turn it into that, but the asset is valuable nonetheless. So, and that's another thing. One of the values of these cans is just making storage containers. Of course, the cans can rust, and we can do things to prevent that, like putting a weatherproof sealant or something, some kind of plastic coating over it. But, you know, when you have things like wood, of course, you can also weatherproof the wood to some degree. You can have some kind of lacquer, some kind of sealant that it has as well. But wood is a relatively fragile material, especially when it comes to things like steel. To get the same strength and durability as a thin sheet of steel, you have to get a pretty significantly thick piece of wood. And if somebody really wants to tear into that wood, it's not going to be too difficult for them to chip away at it. Of course, somebody can crush your steel, but it's going to be a lot harder. That being the case, when we're able to weld together these little pieces of steel like we're getting, we are coming into a real opportunity, being that we can now start to create small metal boxes that we can lock things up into. We can make big metal storage chests if we want to, depending on how much time and effort we care to take into welding them together. You know, there is not unlimited potential because these are, you know, flimsy steel cans. They will have to be welded together in some form or another. And in order to weld them, they have to be in a lot denser a form, so a lot smaller pieces, a lot tighter welds. Those are all limitations on the materials, but that will get improved as we get more assets and resources. Making things like this means that we can start to make other things that will assist us in, for example, our casting processes. We can currently cast aluminum and copper, as well as, you know, things that are similar like bronze, though we haven't cast much bronze. You know, we could do gold and silver and things like that if we had enough of it and a good enough reason to do so. But that all being the case, things like this, having this steel that we can weld together, means that we have a high temperature material that can aid us in creating different little items to assist our metals casting process. You know, one big thing that we need a lot of the time is just a space to keep whatever our very, very hot metal item that we have just poured, or you know, our crucible that we're going to set down and get ready to pour, someplace to set those things, someplace to maybe keep them isolated a little bit from their environment, someplace maybe to keep them at the high temperature that we need. And so that being the case, having something like a solid steel container makes all the difference in the world there. Even though it is something that has a bunch of welds in it, even though it is something that has some limitations like that, we are still going to be able to reap a lot of benefit from that we couldn't with any other material. These other materials just would not be able to stand up to the heat. And so we'd have to ultimately buy sheet steel to do that. But now we have a source of relatively high quality steel. Well, not high quality steel. An improved asset of genuine steel, I should say, that we can continue to work with and continue to make strides with for those things. As we continue to improve our metalworking, and hopefully as we can get some more sales in it, we start to get to additional improvements, like going, once we have those that casting process improved, we can start casting more things, casting higher quality items, which hopefully means more sales. Those additional sales means we can put more into the process, like, for example, starting to actually do more smithing on the steel. So, you know, we end up welding these pieces together and forming something that looks like this. But then if we could actually mend and work with the steel itself, we could potentially press it down and get it to form incredibly loud noise. Excuse me, guys. I am sure I have disturbed everyone in my household with that. But that being the case, going from something like this, we'd be able to actually stamp it down, make it into one solid piece that isn't from a weld, but that is actually, you know, the metal binding to itself. Welding is effectively that process, but still leaves a lot more error than actually pressing it down into one compact piece, like through smithing. So we will be able to make additional advancements to the material itself in the future, which continues to add more and more to our process, more and more to our assets. So taking something small, taking something not worth very much at all, and continually, slowly improving its value through our efforts as we progress. So again, almost through all of these cans. We have, after I finish this one, I'll go ahead and do a count for us, but we are getting close. Let's see. All right, and so we are almost through this can here. And just like that, we've got it. Let's go ahead and count the rest of these. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 cans to go. One being a baby can. So that one will probably be the last one that we do just to knock it out. So we're going to go from 17 to 16 real quick. See how quick we can't move through that. Go ahead and get the rest of these cans processed, and then if we have time, if it's light enough out outside, it might be, we can go ahead and try to flatten them out. Really turn them into an even more usable product. So we will see how that goes. If my phone battery lasts long enough, that is. Okay, let me see how well we can do that. There we go. And once we get down a few more, I'll go ahead and read some comments, jump back in with you guys, see what we're working with. And again, if you guys have any questions, anything you want answered, while we're doing a stream like this is a good time because it allows me to actually talk to you guys. When we're out working at Bate, I want to hit you guys up and talk to you about all the relevant things with your micronations. When we're on the Discord, a lot of the time I'll try to pop in and out and answer a few questions, talk to a few people. But as we do more work for the Empire, we get busier and busier, and it gets harder and harder to do that on a regular basis. So the more you guys hit up videos like this, the more you guys support and say you enjoy those things, the more I can come to you guys with more of a one-on-one, more of a personal approach. Try and get your questions answered specifically, try and get you some help with your nation. Or with your community. If you're not a part of a micronation, I don't want you to feel unwelcome here at all. We'd certainly love for you to join us, but even if you're just here because it's a novelty, even if you're just here because you want advice on business stuff or just personal stuff, community stuff, we're here for you. Also, thank you guys. 12 viewers, 13 likes, incredible. Queen Bougie says, I have a man-made fire pit I've made. I'd be glad to post it with the fire lid. Yes, please. Multiple things. Oh, goodness. I have missed a ton of people's stuff. Let's see. Okay. James says that doesn't sound like a healthy practice. Don't eat either. To Homeland's question. Queen Bougie says, I'm jumping around, but at Brown's Palace, I would love to eventually host on the actual grounds overnight. Absolutely. I think that'd be incredibly exciting, especially with your fire pit, especially with The decorations, I know you have been buying more things to decorate Brown's Palace, so I'm sure that would be a lovely and enchanting experience. Let me go ahead and see if I can jump through the rest of these comments real fast. Let me make sure my phone's not going to die. 41%, we're doing good. Queen Bougie says, so the best way I can do that would be to invest in good camping equipment. Agreed. Homeland says, certainly the fastest way to do it as well. Homeland says, if you could, what color would you change your floor to? Or would you keep it the same? That's a great question. So we are, in not too long, actually going to be moving out of this place and into another place, more permanent residence. We are in a house currently, but we're renting it. Eventually we will be moving, I'd say within the next 6 months or so, to a more permanent place, somewhere that we own. And so that being the case, we will be able to change those floors up significantly. If we were to change these up, I'd probably do like a nice dark wood, like a, you know, maybe like a dark stained oak, or I think I saw James in a couple comments that I haven't read yet, talking about like a walnut. Yeah, something that's like a dark wood probably. Especially the darker the better for this scenario, because we have these orange lights, the beautiful flag of the Empire, you know, being able to accent the walls with like white and kind of lighter things, being able to have our metals, our drapery, you know, things like that, that make the actual aesthetic a little more fancy, a little more regal, kind of show off more of the Empire's culture. Contrasted with this really dark floor, I think would make it pop. I think it'd be really cool. James says, I personally love walnut wood, so having a walnut finish on my hardwood floor would be ideal. Very cool. James says, AP, if we need more cans, some stores sell canned emergency water, which would prove useful to attain more cans while replacing you bringing out water bottles. Very true. That's not a bad idea at all. As well, it's something that's kind of environmental, you know. For the longest time, we have been carrying out bottles of water and then bringing all of the bottles of water back from the Tay, and then having to effectively just throw them away, you know, keeping our carbon footprint kind of the same, you know, not really being able to reduce in that way, like we have with some other ways, like, for example, these canned goods. So being able to take something that we've normally been using plastic for and turn it into cans, steel, which can be recycled by us, would be a lot more beneficial. Also cuts down on microplastics, things like that. Great idea, James. I'd have to look at the price comparison and also how easy they are to attain to see how reasonable it is at the moment. But in the future, you know, one way or another, that is more and more reasonable. Especially, you know, over time, what I'd like to do is just get us some water bottles of our own. You know, the steel thermoses, things like that, that actually we could just carry out and only have the one, and only have to use the one. Those would be good for backups, either, you know, when we bring other people out who don't have their own bottles, or even when we need a top up ourselves. You know, if I bring a tea out or something in my thermos, but then I want some water later, absolutely beneficial, absolutely helpful, and you're right, would give us more cans. Queen Bougie says, I have a man-made fire pit I've made. I'd be glad to post it with the fire lit. Please do. We'd love to see what a campfire, a night out at Brown's Palace looks like. Let's see. Homeland says, should I fix my shelf? It's very annoying. I want to, but I can't be bothered. I'd recommend that you do. I mean, if it's a useful shelf for you. If you don't get any use out of it, I guess it's up to you, but it sounds like it's useful, and more importantly, it sounds like it's bothering you. So if it's something that's bothering you, if it's something that when you look at it, you go, oh, I only wish that thing was fixed, then yes, why not? It can only cause additional happiness to you. So long as you do it safely and have the materials to fix it, why not fix it? Homeland says, excuse me, Milos joined in and said, hello. Great to see you, Milos. Thank you for being here. Quacker's Kingdom says, hello. Hey, Quacker, it's great to see you. James says, welcome to the stream, newcomers. Be sure to join our Discord. to join our community and to become a citizen or support us, please join our Patreon. For more info, see our website. Absolutely. James says, off for now. See you later, AP. Great to see you, James. Thank you so much for being here. And as always, Aeternia forever. Henry says, I'll be honest, I just got here and I'd like to know what the flag means. Great question. So that right there in the center, this is the Empire of Aeternia's flag. We are the Empire of Aeternia. That symbol right there in the center is the arrow of progress. We actually have a video we put out not too long ago, a couple of shorts back, that describe more about that. But it is the symbol that represents the progression that we all have in our lives, both as individuals as well as when we come together as a community. That arrow represents success. It represents progress. It represents forward momentum for our goals and for our achievements. It is the idea that if you put in enough effort, if you put in enough time, and if you are passionate enough about what you are doing, that you will follow the arrow of progress to success. And so as we move forward, we stand under the arrow of progress. We follow its guide to success, to achieve the things that we want. The purple represents the successes and the glory of the empire. The white represents the people that we actually take in, the people that we all start as, which are individuals usually who feel ignored or underrepresented or under supported in our home nations. So we are groups of people who are feeling displaced, coming together as one, uniting to create an empire which improves quality of life, provides us better opportunity, and leads us into progress. As we say in the Empire of Aeternia, unite the invisible, achieve the impossible. And so that is what the arrow of progress and our flag represents. Tally All says, I subbed a while back. I love your work. Thank you so much, Tally All. It means a lot. If you really do love what we do, definitely consider joining our Patreon. Even as a free member, you get exclusive access, special stuff, things like that. As well, another big thing for supporting us, tell other people, like our videos, comment on them. If you have questions about any of the stuff we do in videos, because a lot of videos will be real short snippets of a big thing that we did, ask us questions and we can either answer them on something like this, like a live stream, or we can also hit them up in unique specific videos tailored to you, especially for people on our Patreon. If you did decide to join the Patreon, like our post, comment on there, talk to us. It's a lot smaller community over on Patreon, so we have a lot more attention we can focus on individuals, especially if you are a paid member of our Patreon. Even more perks, even more benefits, even more special access to getting your questions answered, getting custom videos made for you, things like that. With that, we are almost done with this can. We just finished it. And look at how small our table's getting now. Let me make sure that you guys can see. I think you can. I'll aim down just a little bit just in case. But look at this. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 cans left. And we're about to knock it down to 12 with this one. Okay, so Henry says, so if I may ask, what exactly is this? Because I just came across your channel by accident and I'm a bit curious. Thank you so much, Henry, for joining us then. As always, we are the Empire of Aeternia. We are a micronation. We are a group of people, as I explained, who are feeling that they are not supported by their host nation, that they feel unrepresented. You know, there are a lot of people like myself who don't like US politics, don't like the way that it's set up, don't like that really, even though there are multiple options, we only get 2 options every election. Both of them usually are bad people, people we don't like, people who don't represent us, the common people, people who don't represent what we want achieved, that our Congress, for example, in the US, and this is specific to the US, but you know, doesn't feel as though they can achieve much. Anything that one party does, the other undoes. That there are so many things that are focused on in policy and in law that don't actually represent what people want and need, like, for example, healthcare, like, for example, financial support, housing, things like that. So what the Empire of Aeternia does instead is focuses on a ground-up approach, saying, hey, we're going to get all of these people who do have value, whose nations clearly need them to survive, to be the laborers and the workers and the people who get taken advantage of. And we bring all of those people together and we tell them, hey, you are valuable. We show them, hey, here are these opportunities we have. We have land now. We have assets that we are slowly but surely increasing. We have tools so that you can specialize in some form of labor. And we can teach you how to do some specialized things to increase your value in our community. We bring all these people together, we put in all that effort, and we make something that improves the quality of life of all of the people there. Now, in a stage like we are right now, we're very small. So the amount that we improve the quality of life of all of our citizens is very small, but we're only working with a few people and a few assets. As each year goes forward, we have been exploding in how much value we bring to the table. Again, right now we have a piece of property that we bought a little over 2 years ago now that we have not been able to do very much with. But one of the things we were able to do is start a garden. One of the things we've been working on this last year is building up a dwelling there, a little structure that for the time being is going to be used as a shed, but will teach us how to make small houses for people on that property. It's a property we own and that we can in the future start to offer people a place to live for free on. So and by for free, I mean without paying rent, not for free in that it's, you just come and take the land. But that being the case, it is an opportunity for us to provide additional value for citizens. We are trying to do more of those things with local recruitment, with things like taking these cans and working with them, and starting to recycle, starting to eventually get into, like James brought up earlier, canned food drives for people who are underserved in our community. We are trying to bring together those people who are most vulnerable and show them that that isn't the way that their life has to be, and that even though our efforts and our goals may be very small in terms of the impact on each individual's lives, as we come together as a community, we make that impact larger, and we also show that those little impacts day to day on each individual's lives can sum up to mean great things for future generations. So that's what we are, that's what we're doing. And hopefully we help to change even a little bit about your day. Maybe make you smile. Okay. Queen Bougie said, well said, Emperor AP. Thank you so much, Queen Bougie. As always, it's great to receive honors from you, especially somebody so new and so inspiring in the micronational community, somebody who is already putting in a lot of effort in their own nation. All Explorer says, message retracted, love to Aeternia from the Kingdom of Octavia. Thank you so much. And also, Henry, if you are interested, check out our website, check out our Patreon. There are multiple links in the description that can help you to learn more about who we are and what we do. If you have more questions, drop them in. Henry Hughes says, I appreciate the information, but I can't do much. Kind of stuck in the U.S. education system for another year, and thank you all again. Thank you again for all the information. But that's where you're wrong, Henry. You absolutely can do a bunch. Right now, we are looking for somebody to continue to help us as a citizen. We are recruiting new citizens just to be people who support us online. One of the great things that you could do, for example, is you could be a foreign ambassador for us. That's somebody who's literally answering emails that come in from other nations, nations that we want to work with, nations that we want to partner with. And so if, once a week you have the ability to check an email and go, oh, hey, I can respond to this person and tell them a little bit about Aeternia, or, oh, hey, this person emailed the email and I'm just checking it now. I can go ahead and forward this to Emperor AP and let him know what I think about the situation, what I recommend. That is huge for us, and that counts as citizenship. That provides you benefits by being a citizen and helping us even in that small way. If you really feel that there's nothing you can do, I completely understand that. But the very smallest thing that you can do is just to watch these videos, just to support us, just to tell people about us. And if you really wanted to put a ton of effort in, if you really wanted to go that extra step, which again isn't too crazy, you can become a citizen. You can help us out by doing stuff like answering emails, things that just take up a little extra time that I'd have to do otherwise, and really mean all the difference in the world. Because the more assets we have, the more that I can take my time and put directly into growing us in more immediate ways and more time critical ways. whereas people who are just joining us and just learning and wanting to be here for the far future have ways to get trained, ways to move forward, and ways to take care of things that otherwise would really bog up my time. Because it's not that any one of the things is like hard to do at all. It's just that there's so many of those things to do within a day or a week or a month that it becomes impossible to do them all. And so the more people that we have helping us and supporting us and being here, the easier it is for us to move more smoothly as a people toward our progress. Okay, now we're almost done with this can as well, which is moving pretty quick. It's looking like it's getting dark out. Let me see. Yeah, it's almost completely dark out. We may not get to actually being able to hammer these out during the stream, but we will see. We will see how far we get. And here's another one, jumping in. All Explorers has loved the Aeternia. Henry Hughes says, I'll definitely will bring it to consideration. Thank you so much for the time and information. I really appreciate it. Of course, thank you so much, Henry. And again, if you can subscribe, that's like the biggest thing you could do for us. We're trying to reach 3,500 subscribers right now, which is one of the top in micronations in general. We're not at the top. We're probably in the top 10, top 5 maybe, but subscribing helps a ton. Liking the video helps a ton. So thank you guys for being here and just checking in, asking questions, seeing what the heck this all is. Oh, bumping the camera. Queen Bougie says, and you all know we don't have kings and queens in the USA, so it's just really cool opportunity to do something more or else. Agreed. It is very cool the fact that people are able to create their own cultures. Queen Bougie, you talking in one of your shorts about how Mecklenburg is the continuation of a historical context for the area that you are in. That's really cool. That's something that I think a lot of people, especially in your local area, would really gravitate to, and something that is inspiring. People see, for example, Kevin Baugh of Molossia. He's another micronationalist in like parades and stuff, and they are not trying to, house homeless people. They're not trying to, do anything too crazy, but they are a support system for their family, and they are, a cultural inspiration for their community. They do donate a lot to charity and things like that. They make a big impact without necessarily saying that they're trying to do anything too overtly crazy. And so even if you're not somebody who's trying to change the world in this mega extravagant way, you can still change the world through your individual efforts and contributions to it. And that's a big part of what Aeternia is about, but that's also a big part of just what micronationalism is about. So it's beautiful to see people like Queen Bougie out there making a difference in their local community and changing the face of what it means to be a micronation. That's another thing. If you feel like your micronation is something that's small or insignificant, or, there are people online on like the Reddit, on like Instagram, just on a bunch of different social media platforms that will tell, on Discord servers and stuff, that'll tell you, hey, what does your nation actually do? Your nation isn't serious. Your nation isn't this or that or helpful or whatever. Your nation is a copycat of this nation or whatever. Don't listen to those people. Micronationalism can be an incredibly toxic place. And so being a nation, being a group of people who come in and say, we're just trying to make a difference, that we are unique, we are, trying to contribute our presence, our efforts to the community. We have ideas, we have thoughts and interests, and we're passionate about this. We want to help other people. That is huge. That makes all the difference in the world, so that when people come in and are wondering, like Henry was a minute ago, what the heck this is, why is it valuable, why would anybody care about this? That's why, even if people don't particularly ascribe to the ideas of micronationalism in the sense of creating new countries, if they find a group of people here who are wonderful and supportive and thoughtful, they may stay for the other parts, and so that's an opportunity to teach people, an opportunity to gain something from this community. and an opportunity to make sure that people who do want to make their own micronations or become citizens of other micronations don't give up, don't get discouraged by, one or two loud voices in the community who are just hateful. There is a chance for us to all bring each other together, and as they say, a high tide raises all ships. We can be that high tide for each other. We can tie to each other. We can help each other. We can benefit each other pretty directly just by being supportive and friendly. So there is a lot to be done in the community, and your contributions help to achieve that, no matter how small. Even if it's just to pop in and say hi. So real fast, we are almost done with this. Can move into another one. Ba-bam, bam, bam. Ba-bam, bam, bam, bam. And I got another one. All right, now we have 3, 6, 9, 10 cans left. Working on 9. Queen Bougie says, "Oh yeah, talking about not having kings and queens in the U.S." That's very true. According to Molossia, and I don't think it's just Molossia that says this, but there was a guy who I think was kind of like a scam artist, kind of a grifty guy who named himself Emperor Norton. He bought a piece of land in the U.S. Early in its history, maybe in the 1800s or something, and tried to claim himself as an emperor. And so it appears as though, even though the U.S. For sure does not have kings or queens, we may have had an emperor at one point, although his validity is certainly in question, and his motives are also probably not the best. Did have one, and one that's been recognized by multiple micronationalists. If you go to MicroCon, the micronational convention that happens, I think, every other year, maybe every year now, it is one of those things that is celebrated at MicroCon. Emperor Norton, I think there's an award, the Emperor Norton Award or something like that. So something to be considered for sure. Don't have kings or queens, but the USA did have an emperor. Down to 9, working down to 8. Queen Bougie says to see. Good to see you, Queen Bougie. I think was just responding to her previous comment there, and we don't, his previous comment there, and we don't see this happening anywhere because the community is so small. So what AP is doing is just so inspiring to see. Queen Bougie says, really, I didn't know that. Thank you. See, you learn something new every day. Oh, absolutely. And thank you for being here, Queen Bougie. So real quick, what I am doing, I keep saying real quick. Tiffany and I have been talking about this too, as of the last 2 weeks. For some reason, I have been on a kick of when I'll need to interject to say something, when I will be in a rush to do something. I have this phrase that's been stuck in my head. Real quick, this and this, real quick. Hold on a second, real quick, this and this. And it's become like a catchphrase of mine recently. So Tiffany has been encouraging me and helping me to try and not say it, because I've been asking her, help me to stop saying this thing. So if you guys hear me say real quick, get on to me, because I'm going to try to knock the habit eventually. You may see the progress of that on stream too one of these days, where eventually I never say it again, or at least not in only in a manner in which the context truly deserves the use of the phrase. But yes, Queen Bougie, The US did apparently at one point have an emperor. Look into it. Again, I think that emperor was kind of a grifty guy. I don't think his reasons were too pure, and I don't think he planned any great intentions with it. But nonetheless, still an interesting cultural artifact, something to think about, and something celebrated by and kind of co-opted by, I suppose, micronations like Molossia and others who attend Microcon. So, you never know how your culture and your ideas will change the shape of humanity, change what our culture is like in the future. I imagine this Emperor Norton didn't feel, or maybe didn't care about his impact. I think he was looking to make money. I think that's quite well known. I think that was kind of his intention. And so that being the case, this person who goes, I'm going to get one over on these people real fast, oh goodness, I'm doing it again. I'm going to get one over on these people and make them think that I'm some great fancy emperor and they should give me their money or give me their support. He probably didn't care at all about what people in the future would think of him or his legacy. But as it turns out, there has been a group of people who revere him. And so, and really do view him as the emperor he claimed to be. So you never know how much something like Mecklenburg or any micronation for that matter will mean to the people of the local community that it's a part of, or even other micronationalists that come in the future who are trying to do different things and pursue their own ideas and cultures. It is certainly a wild idea to think about. What happens when we have potentially passed away, or when the world changes and becomes different from the way that we have lived in it and the way that we've experienced it up to this point. It's kind of a tough pill to swallow, but it's also something that's exciting to think about, how humanity changes and adapts, not just in the span of like even 5 years, 10 years. I mean, you think about, all the technology and crazy stuff that we have nowadays that we didn't have 5, 10 years ago. But then going from that to like 50, 100 years, 200 years in the future is mind-boggling. I don't think any of us can comprehend truly what that would look like at that time. And so being able to think that we will have an impact on, 4, 5, 6 generations ahead of us that will be living during that time and will be experiencing those things that we have no idea about right now is pretty cool. It's pretty exciting. Again, a little scary, but very exciting. Let's see. I'm ripping these cans apart a little bit, but I'm getting them. Now we have 6. We are down to the last 6. And we're about to make it 5. Then once I do that, you will see the next part of this process becomes incredibly quick. Because we're going to go from all of these cans that are, I'm going to restack them on the table probably so that I can show you the process. But we're going to go from all of these cans that have had the bottoms poked through them, that are now just these little cylinders, to actually cutting them up into flat sheets. So it will change your perspective on how much this processing actually helps pretty quick, I think. Let's see. And each of these can become one of those little pieces that we showed you earlier, which all come together to make much larger, much more beneficial products for us. In just a second, I'll go ahead and see if I can't leave more comments, see if anybody else has jumped in with some enlightenment for us, with some news about their nation or the world at large. But for now, we're on to 5 cans. Five and nearly 4. Very cool. Okay, so don't have any more comments yet, so let's see if we can't race. So race against time, see if we can't hurry up and get these guys knocked out, show you guys the finished product. Let me see what my phone battery's at, because we might be literally racing against time. Okay, here it is 4:38 Central Time, and I am running at about 20-something% battery, so hopefully my battery doesn't die. But we will be trying nonetheless. Okay. There we go. Okay. At this point, I've started like ripping the can, which isn't good. This one may just be messed up beyond repair. We're going to try to bend it down, see if we can fix it, but it has some significant flaws now. Yeah, it was all right. It worked out. Okay. 5 down to 4, nearly down to 3. Getting through it slowly but surely. Making our mark here. Keeping our stride. Going strong. Ooh, okay. And then real quick, Cream Bougie jumping in with everything that you said, if you think about what we actually already have, the blueprints to start a new civilization are a blueprint to start new civilizations for the future. I completely agree. And that's why I think it's really sad to see that like so many of our societies are still just so unsupportive, I should say, of individual citizens. You know, we have the means to really make, I guess not literally utopian societies, but societies that are a lot better than the ones that we have now, a lot higher quality of life, a lot more improved well-being for all of those in society, from, you know, the most well-to-do, most aristocratic members of society to the poorest members of society. And it's a shame that there is so much abuse and so much advantage being taken of people who need help in our societies. You know, it's weird that a lot of our society's morals come about and justify harm to those who have less than others, and feeling that somehow that is justified because, oh, they didn't, you know, they didn't try hard enough, or oh, they didn't, you know, they didn't think ahead enough, or, you know, they weren't smart enough or capable enough or something, which, one, isn't true, and two, is incredibly immoral. You know, it's just a justification, a lazy reason to say, oh, well, that's why we get to keep other people poor and in squalor and, you know, let them die sooner than others because, well, those people just weren't good enough. And that's no excuse at all. So we can absolutely make a difference. We can build those societies of the future. And I think as we continue to grow the societies that we plan right now, those societies for the future, we will be in a situation in which people start to recognize and notice, hey, these societies are better, you know. It's a better way to live to join a micronation that has, you know, 100, 200 citizens in it, which is huge for a micronation right now. But a micronation that has 100, 200 citizens in it, they're all living happily, they're all working together. You know, they may not all have yachts and things like that, but most people in societies don't anyway. They may not all live the most lavishly, but they all live a lot better than what they could have and what most people live in other societies. They all have healthcare. They're all relatively taken care of. They all have food and houses and are learning new things and are growing. Those types of societies, I think, are more appealing to the average person than one that, you know, is a gamble on your life. And we are down to the baby can. Very last can. Thank you to anybody who has been here from the first can now to the last. This is an example of the arrow of progress, showing our success, showing the fact that if we persevere and we keep going, there's just about nothing that we can't achieve. And now I am crimping through this can to get it into its final form, and then I will restack all of them. So here we go. We have now almost, let me see. Finished. Amazing. So to put all of our cans back into perspective, so I make sure I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'll do them in rows of 6 so it's easy to count. 18. 24. 30. About to hit 36. 42. 43, 44, 45. That is 45 cans that we cut, that we processed. And now, look at how easy it is to get them into sheets. Making a ton of noise, but that is one sheet down. What I'll do is actually see if I can stretch it out a little. See if we can't start that flattening process ourselves. Comes out about like that. That's for a pretty large sheet too, so we'll see some much smaller ones in just a second, but let's go ahead and finish these out. Go to the other side. Goodness, we gotta find a better way to hold it. But for now, take it, and also be careful. You should use gloves if you do anything like this. I am not, but don't follow my advice on that. Wear gloves for certain. Don't follow my lead on that. Follow my advice. do as I say, not as I do, I suppose. So we've got those two now. Moving on to the third. And these will take up a lot less space, maybe a quarter of the table by the time everything's said and done. There we go. And again, opening them up. Flattening them out. That's 3. Moving on to 4. These smaller ones will be a lot easier to go through. Stretching it out again. Flattening it down. And continuing. That was the 4th. This is the 5th. About to move on to the 6th. Starting on that 6th. There we go, through the 6th, about to be onto the 7th. Goodness me. I'm knocking everything everywhere. All right. Oh, bent that one. And 2 more for this row. There we go. And finishing out this row. There we go. Now I'll put that sideways like this so we can work on another set. And spinning it out. Starting that next set. It is a little bit of a messy job here, it seems. Or at least when you have a clumsy person doing it. All right. Oh, flipped one. That was kind of cool. Okay. Steady moving through. Making better and better time as we go along. There's another. Almost done with yet another row, or column, I should say. Okay, 2 more for this column. There we go. Okay, 1 more for this column. So that should be about 15 right there. We've already moved through in just a few minutes. Go again. It seems I have dropped something, but I don't know what I dropped. So let me check, see what everybody's up to. Muslim Boy, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Daniel says, am I still timed out? Does your micronation specialize in breaking apart tin cans? It's a great question, Daniel. It is, I suppose, one of the things that we do specialize in. What we're doing right now is we're taking these tin cans and we are, they're called tin cans, but they're made out of sheet steel. We're flattening them out, we're processing them so that we can eventually weld them. Now, welding tin cans, steel cans, is very difficult to do, especially with a stick welder, if you do not have some way to make them more dense. And so what we do is we actually take the cans, flatten them out like you can see here on the table, and then from there they will get further refined down into these little things, which again can be eventually welded together like this. So this is 2 of these welded together like this. You can see the back, there's that disgusting weld that I have, but it is a nice weld that does hold, so I can grind that down and shave it down and make something nice, which is a lot denser, a lot easier to use for doing things like welding, making different little projects. So we're getting to the end here, finishing up this process as I fight each of these cans to get them to stay balanced on this table. I may spend more time picking up cans than I do cutting them, but we are slowly refining and processing each of these. There we are, flattening this one out as much as we can. And I'll just start a new row for these guys. Flip it onto the other side. Cut that. Flatten it along as we go. Again, if you ever decided to do this at home, please, please, please wear gloves. As I am not doing, but should definitely do as I say, not as I do on this one. So getting closer and closer here with these, moved through a good bit so far. Getting close to the halfway point if we haven't hit the halfway point yet. But at this point, moving through them so quick takes more time to count. So we'll just wrap up in the next minute or two, and we will have 45 cans all processed, all ready to be flattened down, which can be another stream if anybody would like that, us actually going through and hitting them on the anvil, flattening them down into their near final form before they would be welded together eventually. So you see, go ahead and keep flattening that guy down. Getting close on here. Actually, this one's more flat than those others. See if I can't flatten all of these guys down a little bit. There we go. It's a little bit better. 3 more for this row. Then we will be on to the third to last row. Okay. Got that one. We'll just go ahead and start a new one here. And just like that, we are down to the third to last row. And again, these cans have gone from 45 individual cans taking up this whole table to now 45 of these processed cans, which are now pretty much into flat sheets. They're not into completely flat sheets. We'd have to actually go ahead and hit them on the anvil to get them flatter than they are now. But this is getting down to about, a little less than half of the space that they took up originally. So making significant progress. That means we can hold 90 cans in this form in the same space, maybe a little more than 90 cans in the space that we would have held 45 before. And again, this isn't even as processed as we can get them. This is just the second level, second section of processing that they go through. The third being actually getting them down into a much, much more condensed form, which is a lot denser. But, maybe all of these 45 cans would fit in a bundle in my hand, although they'd be significantly heavier being this sheet steel that they are. Okay. So we got that almost down to the second to last row here. So we can just go ahead, finish cutting these, get them processed. And that'll be that. Okay. Third to last row finishing up. Ba-ba-ba. And with this can, we will be done with the third to last row. Onto the second to last row. Went that a little too far. There we go. And on to the second to last row. One down, 6 more to go, 5 more to go, excuse me, in the second to last row. And just let me check to see if there are any more comments. Nope. 3 viewers, 16 likes. Thank you guys for being here. Those of you who are really hanging out to the end, it does mean an incredible deal. Again, I get that this isn't necessarily the most exciting work that we could be doing, but I wanted to show you guys that there is some benefit in showing just the raw effort, just the time it takes to make some of these things happen. Again, not the most glamorous thing all the time, but it is the work that we do. So when people start seeing us making things like a throne or crowns or armor or, you know, chests, things like that, they'll be like, where'd you get the steel from? How'd you do that? How'd you do that? It all started here. Some of you will know. Some of you will have been witness to the process. Those special 3 who stayed all the way to the end of the stream. Okay, let's see. And if you have made it this far, go ahead and like throw a comment when the stream is done and just be like, I stayed to the very end, because it does mean a lot. Like knowing who actually does get benefit out of this content. And if you do want to continue to see this content, this style of content, I should say, let us know. Also, if you haven't checked out the video on James heading out for Ukraine, definitely reach out and let us know. Okay. So down to the last couple, or you can just, excuse me, I said go ahead and reach out and let us know if you haven't watched that video, but if you haven't watched that video, you can probably just go ahead and watch it. Bent that a little too far forward. And going in for the last little bit of effort on these guys here. Let's see. Okay. Getting down to the wire here. And this will probably be our last stack here. Oh gosh. Creating a mess for myself, that's for sure. Okay, let's see. And we are almost done getting these guys broken down, simplified. There are, as of right now, 7 cans left. This is the 7th can, 7th to last, I should say, that we're going to be working on. And we're about to be on the 6th. So if you guys want to count down with us, celebrate, again, the arrow of progress here, helping us to progress, helping to show how much our efforts pay off, going from this big table full of what was junk to now processed material, things that we can use for crafts, things that we could use, even as James said, if we flattened them out a little bit better, as shingles for roofing, to house the citizens of Aeternia and of Vitae. Getting close. Sometimes it just takes one person putting in the effort to make a significant impact. And this shows just how much effort and impact one person can put in, how much of a difference they can. So imagine, as our society keeps growing, what 10 Aeternians looks like working together, what 20 Aeternians looks like working together, what 50 Aeternians looks like working together. If you've liked our channel, if you've liked the things that we have made so far, that is basically from just a handful of Aeternians here and there making progress, making videos, making different little interesting pieces showing off daily life for us, showing off the different things that we do and the way that we work. So now, with 4 cans left to go, working on the 4th now, there is something to be said for progress. I'll have to go and hunt down our last can over there to do it, the baby can, which will be our finale here in just a moment. But for now, I will finish flattening out these cans and moving forward. On to the final 3. This is the 3rd to last can that we will be doing today, and the 3rd to last can that we had in our stockpile that we needed processed. So now, all of the cans that we have saved up, we have processed. This is, again, months worth of cans that we have slowly worked on and gotten just from our own personal usage, and will provide us significant benefit as we move forward. 2nd to last can, going in. Here we go. Looking pretty good. And the piece de resistance. For all of you here who have stayed watching, thanks so much. Hey, 6 people, thank you. Queen Bougie says, AP, I wish all the micro countries could do content in general. I know Dracul is a good example with Aeternia. You guys have inspired me. LOL will call it micro TV. Very cool. I can definitely appreciate it. And thank you for keeping us in high regard with the rest of the wonderful micronations out there. Very last one. Here we go. This is it. I'm going to flip to the other side so you guys can see. Final can. Da, 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 da. Just broken it. Flattening it out. Looking good. Looking good. Okay, and we have our last final can flattened. And look at that. Let me stack it all up so you guys can see. Taking up roughly half the space that it did. Peace Chaser says, what are you building there? Well, we just finished cutting up, and this was our example can that I showed earlier. This one was already previously cut up, but I will add it to the stack. I'll flatten it a little bit and add it to the stack. We have processed a bunch of tin cans so that we can turn them from the solid tin can that we showed to this, which takes up about half the space. This table was full of cans just a minute ago. Thank you guys for liking if you enjoy the content. To this, which is a much denser form of that same can, flattened out, hammered out on an anvil, and then we weld them together. This is 2 of these welded together. As you can see, this gross weld here on the back, but that allows us to do something with this material. That makes it more useful for us, more practical. So it becomes an actual asset to our empire. That being the case, I will grab all of the can lids just to show you as well. And these, the lids of the cans are a little bit more dense than the rest of the can itself. So these as well can be used, processed in a slightly different way to be made beneficial and more practical for use in our empire. But that being the case, look at this. Those cans that took up the entire table. And again, this is me like still kind of having them spread out. I could make it much more condensed than this if we really flattened out each of these cans. But this is what we end up with. a much nicer, much smaller, much more compact, easily managed, storable set of assets. These are now no longer just these cans that we have fumbling around that we can't really do anything with. These are materials. These are things that can be used, as James mentioned earlier, as roofing tiles. These are things that can be welded together, smashed down, made into strips of thicker steel that can be welded together, that can be used for all sorts of different projects, jewelry, utility, items such as hinges and, steel plates and all sorts of things can eventually be made into boxes, on and on and on. So that being the case, we have something here. We have something quite valuable here. It will eventually get turned into these guys, and so on and so forth. So thank you all so much for being here. Thank you all so much for watching. Peace Chaser says, are you trying to escape the Earth? Can you just melt them? That's a great question. Also, if you want to see more content like this, and more content on the Empire of Aeternia, the nation that we are building, the empire that we have developed, definitely subscribe to us. It helps us to get those numbers up because we're trying to reach 3,500 subscribers here. That all being the case, we are trying to use these ultimately as an additional asset for ourselves. So I've gone over that a number of times, but you can't quite melt these down. That's a good question there, Peace. You can't melt these down as easily as you could something like copper or aluminum, which we have melted before and made products out of. Steel is very, very high in its melting point, and it actually boils when you liquefy it. It becomes incredibly hot and it pops everywhere. It's very dangerous. So sure, we could spend a ton of energy to melt it down, but it would cost so much in fuel to melt so little steel. It's not quite worth it on this scale. On this scale, what's much easier to do is just process down the metal and then use it in small increments as we need. Eventually, if we dealt with, 10 tons, 50 tons, 100 tons of steel like this, it may be easier and more beneficial to melt it down. But as of right now, this is perfectly practical for us and will give us a lot of value that we otherwise would have had to go out and purchase pre-processed steel sheets in order to get. So thank you guys for being here. And as always, Aeternia forever. See you guys next time.